Hi, my name is Jay Wilson. I'm the lead designer on Diablo 3, and you're watching tvgree.pl. I think a lot of people ask us questions about that. You know, like what was the reasoning for it? I think really the web team was just trying to have a bit of fun. Like, you know, that by making it ice or even potentially crystal, then, you know, it kind of, most people kind of says, I think when they thought we were going to announce a game, they were really hoping it was going to be Diablo. So I think they were trying to do anything they could to kind of throw people off the scent, you know, and say, oh, well, maybe it's a StarCraft thing. It looks kind of like crystal, or maybe it's a Wrath thing because it looks kind of like ice. So, you know, and I think it was just because of a particular announcement. We weren't worried about people being happy about that being the announcement, so we were kind of fine with, you know, having a little bit of fun with it.
Was the pentagram theory true?
As far as what all the symbols mean, the web team has sworn me to secrecy. Yeah, I mean, we still rely on a fairly simple AI. You know, we found that when we tried to make enemies too smart, they actually don't work as well because it's so much about kind of masses of enemies, and you know, and when you try and get, you know, like flocking or things like that. But what we try to do is more create simple enemies that have nice kind of synergy together. We can actually make a much more complex monster than previously appeared in Diablo 2. And a great example would be, you know, when we show kind of the big Siegebreaker Beast, who's kind of the final boss of the announcement video. He's not actually a major boss in the game, he's more of a kind of minor boss. But essentially he has about 4 or 5 different kinds of attacks that he prioritizes based on kind of what stage the fight's in and where his enemies are in relation to him. So he has a lot of kind of different things that he can do. Right now we plan to do at least normal Nightmare and Hell. We've talked about some other ideas that we may or may not do, but we're at the very least definitely going to do that.
So we have some new mechanisms in terms of narration. We have new tools to do that.
Yeah, we showed kind of a portrait system in the announcement. Since the announcement, we've actually kind of gone away from that to something that feels a little bit more in-world. We like that system, but because it gave you kind of a high-resolution version of the characters. What we found was when we did a system where you kind of zoom in on the characters in the world, it felt way more in context. In the original Diablo and Diablo 2, the player had no voice, so you would walk up to a character and, you know, talk to them, and essentially they would they have this long like paragraphs of exposition. And you know, there's a rule in film and theater that monologues are death. You just don't want monologues. It's considered one of the greatest, you know, achievements of an actor if they can actually pull off a long monologue. Conversations are a lot more interesting and also a lot more efficient because you can assume knowledge on both sides. When the player has a voice and their character is actually someone who lives and breathes in the world, he knows things about the world that he can pass on in conversation.
So you've got 5 classes, each of them male or female, so you've got 10 sets of dialogues to record.
Yes, we do. Yeah, and we actually, more than that, because every NPC reacts differently to classes and gender. So, for example, if you are a female barbarian, your gender will be recognized by the NPCs, and they'll also treat you like you're a barbarian. Barbarians are, you know, much larger than normal humans. They're very intimidating, and they're kind of an outside culture. Very, you know, so most people don't trust them. They kind of view them as kind of dangerous savages. And with the Witch Doctor, Witch Doctor comes from a very mysterious culture that's kind of just recently been discovered by other people. So a lot of people are very intrigued by them or very distrustful. And so you'll see that as every different class, the NPCs will react to you differently. As you go out and, you know, take care of all their problems for them, you know, they're going to start, you know, treating you a lot nicer, a lot more respectful, and really, we've talked about, you know, coming back into town with, you know, the giant demon's head on a spike and having the townspeople cheer and put statues up in your honor. Like, those are the kinds of things that we want to do so that the world really feels more real.
In Paris, one of you guys from Blizzard said that, well, we don't even know if Diablo is returning for sure. So what's your comment on that?
You know, a lot of the times the question we get is, you know, how are you guys going to bring Diablo back? We killed him. And my response to that is, what makes you so confident that you've outsmarted the Lord of Terror? Or that terror itself can even be destroyed? So it's something that, you know, I think people are worried that we're just going to come up with some kind of weird kind of stupid loophole that, or just not even explain it at all and just kind of bring characters back. If we do bring back any old villains from the previous games, though, there'll be a logical reason behind it. We're really interested in exploring the lore and how the universe functions. Like, does hell work? How do the archangels work? How do the greater demon lords work? There's a function there, and there's an overall kind of mythology, and those kinds of things are something that is going to be a big part of Diablo 3, is really adding a lot of definition to that part of the universe.